Now, it's pretty well known that I have not been a huge fan of laceless football boots up until this point for reasons that I've explained in all of my reviews. And for the most part, there are a lot of people that agree with me. With that said, there are the conspiracy theory people out there that seem to think that I hate laceless football boots because of SR4U laces. That's not actually the case whatsoever. And what I have to show you in this video is what I think is the best laceless football boot, not just currently available, but ever made. But for whatever reason, people don't seem to care about it. And of course, the Adidas Copa 20 Plus that I have here in the latest Uniforia pack colorway, which of course was supposed to be for Euro 2020 as well as the Copa America. Those have been postponed until next summer. Nonetheless, we have the boots and they bear a retail price of $275. Now, of course, everyone's entitled to their own opinion on what is the best, but for argument's sake, if this is truly the best laceless football boot on the market right now, why isn't it more popular? That's exactly what I want to talk about in today's video. We'll also take a closer look at the colorway, talk tech specs, as well as how they fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around, watch the entire review. And if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $275 retail price. By the way, if you guys do end up enjoying this video, please don't forget to support it with a like. It helps me out tremendously. And if you are new here watching for the first time and don't want to miss out on weekly content on everything football boots, make sure you hit that subscribe button. As far as extras go, all the laceless models from Adidas come in this special drawer style box. Pull the drawer open and all you get is a string bag that, unlike most of the time when Adidas includes a string bag, actually comes in matching colors. So you can see it's white with the green Copa logo and Adidas logos there on the front. It's white perforated mesh with white strings. Pretty decent string bag, above average for Adidas models because it's just less generic. It gets a string bag rating of 49 out of 73. Before we get into any technical information, I just want to quickly run you through the colorway, which I have to admit on this color in particular, it doesn't look nearly as vibrant in pictures as it does in person. So hopefully that comes through in the video. Like the rest of the Uniforia pack, it's a white base with this kind of paint splatter effect scattered throughout the upper. And you're going to find 3 shades of paint splatter, a light purple, some black, and like a neon green. But what's kind of cool if you look really closely is that the neon green is kind of semi-translucent, so you can actually see it overlapping some of the paint splatter in other colors, which just gives it this very almost homemade effect, but at the same time it does look quite premium. And then on top of all of that, you're still going to have that kind of fingerprint looking micro texturing on the surface as you would with any other colorway. It's just a lot less noticeable because of all the paint splatter. Obviously there's no Adidas stripes on the lateral side of the Copa 20 Plus, but you will find them on the medial side, and they have this kind of color shifting green and purple effect with some paint splatter texturing as well, which looks quite cool. The Adidas and Copa logos in black down the back, and then the sole plate, which does have a wearable finish, is kind of solid silver, almost matte chrome towards the heel, and then transitions into a translucent effect with paint splatter on top of that. Very, very cool looking sole plate. It is a wearable finish, though. I believe once it wears off, I'm assuming it's just going to be kind of semi-translucent, almost white, which is not a bad thing at all. But as far as colorways go for the Copa 20 Plus, definitely the most unique one that we've seen so far. The insoles are also pretty cool looking. As for the performance side of things, I think you have to look at football boots as a piece of equipment that serves a very specific purpose, because while there's a lot of variation from one boot to the next, whether it's the least expensive boots or the most expensive boots, they do all share one element in common, and that is studs underneath your feet that exist for proper traction. If you're playing on grass and you don't have studs, you're not going to have enough traction as everybody else, which is why people buy football boots and wear football boots in the first place. Everything else is just an extra. And trust me when I say that we could get into a very long and detailed discussion on what makes a football boot good or bad. We're not going to do that today, but what I think needs to be recognized by the general consumer is that the brands control the narrative in terms of what is perceived as good in the football boot industry, regardless of whether or not it's actually good. And what I want to do is objectively break down what is good and bad about the Copa 20 Plus, mainly focused around the laceless design, because that is ultimately one of the main reasons why you would want to buy this football boot, and one of the main reasons why I actually think it's a great pair of laceless football boots, something that I don't often say on this channel. Now, the highlight feature of the Copa 20 Plus is definitely the laceless fusion skin upper. Fusion skin being a combination of prime knit towards the back half and kangaroo leather towards the front half that come together in a seemingly seamless fashion. The Copa 20 Plus, seemingly seamless. Which, despite all the clever marketing, there still is a physical seam hidden within the groove itself that's a little bit difficult to see on this particular colorway, but it is in fact there. What's more unique about the fusion skin upper itself, though, is not so much the combination of leather and knit, because we've seen that many times before on football boots, not just from the Adidas brand, but more so what they've done on the surface of the kangaroo leather itself, where it has this very interesting kind of Michelin Man pillow-esque texturing to it with these little bumps like that. There's also no stitching, which is something that you would typically use to reinforce the leather. But on the surface, you're gonna find a lot going on, especially on the 20 Plus, where they added this fingerprint-esque micro texturing that does allow for a little bit of extra grip on the ball. Kind of like a pair of sock boots where you have a knitted base material and then a thin layer of polyurethane on the surface. That thin layer of polyurethane is basically what they've worked into the kangaroo leather itself. It's a natural material, but because of that top layer of material that is fused to the surface, hence the name fusion skin, it gives them a lot of freedom in terms of playing with texture and added grip, and also reinforcing the leather without the need for stitching. So it's pretty clever in that regard. And the end result, not only because of the quality of the leather being fantastic, this is some of the nicest leather you will find on any football boot, period, but because of the laceless design, it really gives you this sensation of wearing a leather pair of socks. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the special sauce of the Copa 20 Plus, because like I said earlier, the brands control the narrative, and they've kind of come up with this ideology where they've brainwashed us into thinking that extra material, extra layers, extra bulk is something that you no longer want in a pair of football boots. And regardless of whether or not that is right or wrong, because everyone has their preferences in terms of a football boot that is really thin or a little bit more padded, that's the general perception of a lot of leather football boots. It's an old school way of doing things. It requires more layers of material, and they ultimately end up feeling more bulky, where the Copa 20 Plus manages to incorporate the kangaroo leather, give you that fantastic touch, give you that fantastic comfort, but also give you the modern element of being laceless, of having a knitted component, of fitting really nicely, but also having no bulk whatsoever. And there truly has never been a pair of leather football boots that offers a touch on the ball as clean as these ones do. I think you have to look at the pros and cons of every element on a pair of football boots. And when you're talking about the laceless element specifically, over the last 4 years, since laceless football boots have become more popular, the cons tend to be pretty much the same on every pair of laceless boots, where they lack adjustability, the fit isn't as good as it could be, there truly isn't any lockdown because all the laceless systems still have that little bit of stretch to them, and ultimately that leads to issues in responsiveness, where if you took almost all of these laceless football boots and you added a lacing system, which is something that Adidas has offered over the years, by the way, they themselves aren't even really all in on the whole laceless concept, you end up with a better product. But in the case of the Copa 20 Plus, while it suffers from all of those issues that I just talked about in regards to laceless football boots, because it's not a perfect system yet, and I'm not sure that it ever will be, the major upside, because of the fact that this is laceless, is the incredible touch on the ball provided by this boot. That truly is unlike anything else currently available. So while these still might not be for you if you're somebody that does really like that super locked in responsive sensation, these aren't speed boots, they're not necessarily going to provide that, but if you're after the best possible touch from a leather pair of football boots, this is arguably the best, if not in the top 3, again, because of the laceless element. And what I'm about to say might surprise you, but I'm all for more laceless football boots from Adidas as well as other brands, as long as the laceless system provides more upside than downside. Again, pros and cons. I think if you look at most laceless football boots currently available and available over the last 4 years, there are more cons because of the laceless system versus pros, where in almost every situation, if you took that exact same boot and added a lacing system, the boot becomes objectively better. The touch doesn't change whatsoever. It's just laceless for the sake of being laceless, where in the case of the Copa 20 Plus and the 19 Plus that came before it, it's an amazing football boot, an amazing experience, and a positive experience because of the fact that it's laceless. It's full commitment to the laceless concept. Now, of course, these are laceless boots, which means I will not be plugging SR4U laces available at sr4ulaces.com, but a lot of people do wonder how difficult and or easy they are to put on and take off. Taking them off isn't a big deal. These are a little bit unique as far as putting on because they're a low cut design. I don't really consider this to be a mid. I guess you could if you really wanted to, but you kind of do it the same way you'd put on any other football boots. I like to use both of my thumbs, kind of slide my foot in sideways, and then just kind of use my fingers right here as a shoehorn so I don't crush the internal heel counter, and then just kind of slide them on. They're really not that bad because of the low cut design. The opening is quite big. Then you just got to fix it around the edges because it will kind of crumple up on you. And that's it. Once they're on, that's how they fit. On feet, the boots feel good, but they also feel unique. It's hard for me to compare these to other leather football boots because of the whole laceless thing. You're gonna find that all of the tightness and tension is really coming at the transition point between the prime knit and the leather across the top of the foot. Basically where it's actually stitching the two materials together. That's where there's very little stretch to the material itself. So what you're gonna find is that there's a lot of tension through the midfoot. There's some tightness through the heel because of the shape, but the forefoot and toe box area has plenty of width and really doesn't have much tension to it. So they're tight. They fit securely on your feet depending on the shape of your feet because again, they're laceless. There's no adjustability here. But for most people, if you want that super locked in sensation, they're not necessarily providing that. There's always that little bit of slippage in the heel when you bend your foot. With pretty much every laceless football boot that I've worn, it's still true with this boot as well. But again, if you're buying a pair of leather football boots, if you're interested in something like this, then I don't think that the best possible lockdown is necessarily what you're after. Although there are better options as far as lockdown and leather football boots out there, of course. They just don't have the feel of the Copa 20 Plus. Otherwise, they feel pretty comfortable. It's just going to take a little bit of getting used to. Not too many issues as far as break-in time or really heel slippage for that matter. As far as width is concerned, they're most snug through the midfoot. So if you did have really wide feet or even flat feet like myself, there may be a little bit of foot cramping during the break-in process. But for the most part, I think they'll fit most people as long as you don't have super wide feet. And as far as the sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US. And the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, can I recommend the Adidas Copa 20 Plus? And I think the answer to that question depends on what you're looking for. If you're more of a speed boot type person where you value lockdown and responsiveness, a tight fit, lightweight design, aggressive traction, then these probably aren't gonna be your cup of tea. But if you're a leather football boot enthusiast and you appreciate the softness and comfort and touch provided by Kangaroo leather, the experience of playing in the Copa 20 Plus is truly unlike anything else and legitimately a very special experience that I think you will enjoy. It's not a perfect pair of football boots. If we get a next generation, a Copa 21 Plus, then I would expect there to be a complete redesign to the sole plate and stud pattern, something a little bit lighter, something maybe along the lines of what we currently have on the X line with the speed frame sole plate and stud pattern. That with this upper, I think would be a very special pair of football boots, but as it stands, it's a very solid option, and like I said, truly special. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $275 retail price. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comment section and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you. If you aren't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next one.